Hi, this is Josh Kul for Daf Shevui. We are learning Masechet Avodah Zarah. We are on Daf Samekh Daled. The beginning of this daf is a series of questions that are asked to a bunch of rabbis who are sitting together. They all contain the same format. They're all either about Avodah Zarah or about Yain Nesech. But it's the later half of the daf that I want to focus on in this video. There's a very interesting question about whether or not a ger toshav can annul idolatry. Now, the end of the daf talks about what a ger toshav is, but a ger toshav is somebody who is somewhere in between being a non-Jew and being a Jew. And this is what's so interesting about this daf, is the ger toshav genetically, meaning tribally, he is not converted. He doesn't come from Jewish parents. He was born to Jewish and non-Jewish non-Jewish parents, meaning his genealogical identity is non-Jew. On the other hand, he's accepted upon himself to keep certain commandments. There's going to be an argument at the very end which commandments he has to keep and which commandments he doesn't have to keep in order to be considered a ger toshav. But it seems that in general, the most important thing is that he has accepted upon himself not to worship idols, and therefore taken himself out of the faith, the religion, if you will, of non-Jews. And that's what makes the whole question interesting. In order to annul idols, one has to be in the world of idolatry. It doesn't make sense for a Jew to annul an idol because a Jew is not shayach. He doesn't belong to the world of idolatry. The world of idolatry is inhabited by pagans, by non-Jews. And if one of them says, this piece of rock, this piece of metal, this piece of plaster, whatever it's made of, that I used to worship, is now just rock, metal, wood, whatever the material is, he's taken the sanctity that he imbued it with and removed it. And that makes sense. But a Jew should never have given that sanctity to the idol, and therefore a Jew can never annul an idol. A Jew cannot annul an idol that he made, and he certainly can't annul an idol that a non-Jew made. But this ger toshav is somewhere in between. On the one hand, his religion, if you take that to mean the beliefs that he has in his own mind, a word that we would use today, a faith, his system of viewing the world, is essentially closer to that of being Jewish. He believes in one God, and he doesn't believe in this world of idolatry. So essentially, he's made the essential move over to being Jewish. On the other hand, he hasn't converted. He hasn't gone through that change of one's genetics, one's of genealogy, which would be accomplished by the mark on the skin of circumcision and by immersion, this kind of rebirth system. So genealogically, he is still a non-Jew, and in many cases, we wouldn't count him, for instance, in a minyan or something like that, we wouldn't count him as a Jew. So can he do something that's still related to idolatry? Can he annul an idol? And the Gemara has some, raises some proofs. Rav Nachman essentially says that one who worships an idol can annul it, and one who doesn't worship cannot annul it. But the rabbis have some difficulty with this, and they tend to want to see the world in a more let's say, bifurcated way. In other words, either you're Jewish or you're not Jewish. And if you're not Jewish, then you can annul idols because you're not Jewish. The same way we divide the world in our sense, everything is either Jewish or not Jewish. From their sense, there's this tendency to from their way of seeing things, is the same thing with non-Jews. They're all one undifferentiated mass. Non-Jews are non-Jews, and until they convert, they belong to the other. Okay, maybe I'm not saying this as well as I could, but what I'm trying to say is if the rabbinic viewpoint of the world is that there are two kinds of people, Jews and non-Jews, then just as all Jews are lumped together no matter really what your beliefs are, for the most part, so too are all non-Jews lumped together into one undifferentiated mass, a ger toshav included. Another way, though, to divide the world would be to sort of look at it a little bit more complicated and say, look, there's a genealogical identity that can be separated from your belief identity. Your belief identity can be, let's say, monotheistic, and your genealogical identity could be non-Jewish. And the same thing for the Jewish side, your belief identity could be essentially one who denies the tenets of Judaism, but your genealogy is still that of Judaism. These are complicated questions, but I think they arise on these two sections that we learn, and I hope you enjoyed them, and I hope you find them stimulating for thinking about our own identity and for thinking about the identity of other people as well.